Okay, so hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me today for the 6th of Black Diamonds Destination webinar series and the final webinar of May's series. So of course, as you all know, this is an introduction to Seattle. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm Bethan and I'm an account manager at Black Diamond. So this session will be recorded and will be available to listen to afterwards. So please let your colleagues know if they aren't able to be here today. So my webinar on Seattle will last about 30 minutes and it will be followed by a short question and answer session. My colleague Brendan, who you all know, is here as well today. He's a big fan of Seattle and couldn't keep away, so he'll be there to pick up on any of those questions that you might have. So just submit the questions during the chat function at the bottom as they pop into your head, and we'll get to them after the webinar. So I've shared my screen with you all. You should hopefully be able to see what I'm seeing. We're going to start off with a video. Perfect. So I always like to start off my webinars with a map. I know most of you will know where we're talking about in the world, but in case some of you are a bit rusty, I'd like to start off with a big map of the USA, just to introduce Seattle as the state above Oregon and below British Columbia. So Seattle is really easy to get to. We have direct flights year-round with British Airways and Virgin Atlantic from London. We have indirect flights with Icelandair, and we also have direct flights with Norwegian, but they are seasonal. So I like to always introduce this area of the world as an area that is really growing in popularity. The Pacific Northwest is definitely having a moment. You know, perhaps clients who've been to California, they love the great outdoors and what that has to offer, and they're looking for something a little different, a little more rugged in its beauty. Then I would definitely recommend the Pacific Northwest. So in terms of how long we recommend that you stay in Seattle, or you recommend to your clients that they stay in Seattle, I'd say 3 nights. Its latitude is similar to the UK, so its climate is pretty similar in that respect. So the best time to visit would be May through October. July and August, as you'd expect, are pretty busy and can be a little crowded. So it's worth thinking about May, June, September, and October. So the weather is a little milder, fewer tourists, and you can get some great hotel rates. You can get to the downtown Seattle in about 30 minutes on the light rail. It's around $7, so it's really good value. And so your clients can fly in, get the light rail, and then they don't need a car in Seattle. It's really easy to get around. They can pick up their car after their stay in Seattle. So we've got the monorail, we've got the light rail, we've got Uber, and we have Lyft. So many options for your clients. So I'm going to start off with a little overview of the key takeaways of Seattle before doing a deeper dive into the neighborhoods. So Seattle is a city of food lovers and a city for food lovers. So if you have any clients that love great food, fresh ingredients, international cuisine, then I would definitely recommend Seattle. It's famous, as you imagine, for its fresh seafood and Starbucks, of course. The original Starbucks is in Seattle. So coffee lovers, and it's the amount of craft breweries. So any beer lovers, I would also recommend Seattle. And it's good that they don't have a car in that respect, so they can drink their way around the city safely. A famous restaurant One I would say we must visit restaurant when you go to Seattle is called Canlis, Canlis. It's the chef there, Brady Williams. He won the James Beard Award, which is quite a prestigious food award in the United States, and it's super popular, and you definitely need to book in advance. That's Canlis. The best way to experience Seattle food culture is on a food tour. So I'd say companies such as Eat Seattle, Savor Seattle, or Ethnic Seattle. My favorite is Eat Seattle. It's 2 hours and it's chef led, so you get that unique perspective. And they take you around Pike Place Market, which is as well a Nature and Webinar, an iconic stop for foodie lovers in the city. So Seattle, I'll just touch upon this here because we're going to do a deep dive in a moment, but it has a strong neighborhood culture, and it's something to recommend to your clients that they explore or perhaps stay in some of the different neighborhoods of Seattle to get to know more of the local flavors. Shopping, of course, British and Irish travelers love shopping when they go to the US. Seattle does not disappoint. You've got all your flagship stores that you'd want and expect, but also lots of Seattle grown brands such as Filson, Brooks Running, and Ray. So definitely leave some space in your suitcase. So Seattle isn't nicknamed the Emerald City by accident. It's surrounded by nature, and its proximity to nature all around national parks and amazing scenery is something that really defines a visit to the city and the way the locals live their lives. So about 12% of Seattle is parkland, which works out at about 500 parks. So and some of my favorites would be the Discovery Park, which I'm sure you've all heard of. It's the largest park overlooking Puget Sound. And of course, Cary Park in the Queen Anne region, which has that world famous Seattle view that you'll see on Instagram and in all of Seattle's marketing campaigns. It's pretty iconic. So sports. So Seattle is a city that loves sports. And you'll see from this picture, two of the most famous sporting venues. You have CenturyLink Field, which is the football stadium. And you have the T-Mobile Park, which is baseball. So Seattle Mariners play their games there. Fun fact about CenturyLink, it is due to the acoustics and the passion of the fans, it's the loudest stadium in the USA, and that is official. In 2013, the CenturyLink Field set the world record for the loudest crowd roar at the Seattle Seahawks game. And I've been told, this is unverified, that it was on the Richter scale. It was so loud. So take from that what you will. And this picture doesn't really do it justice. If you flip 180 on the other side of this picture, you'll see that these stadiums are actually right in downtown, and that's pretty unique. Lots of stadiums are usually outside the city, but these are right in the action. So the fans spill out of the stadium after the game into the bars, restaurants, and there's a real festival atmosphere after all of the games. So I definitely recommend to your clients that they try to get hold of some tickets, and if not, even just doing a tour is a really nice afternoon activity. Getting under the skin of the stadium, it's a must for the tour of the CenturyLink Field, this one here, the football stadium. So that's definitely something for sports fans. And a final thing to highlight, just in this overview about Seattle, is that it's a very welcoming, safe, and warm city, friendly to all. Personified in the Capitol Hill region, which is the LGBTQ region of the city, and is much loved and is considered the city's beating heart, and represents the ethos of the city more widely. Cool. So I'm going to pull out some of the neighborhoods. There we go. It's waiting. I'll just zoom out to give you an idea. There we go. So no neighborhood deep dive can be done without putting up the Seattle waterfront. And this is sort of iconic Seattle, home to the most famous hotels, the famous Seattle Wheel, some amazing restaurants such as Crab Pot, which is quite fun. They give you a bucket of crab and a hammer, and you can go to town with that and really enjoy the seafood in Seattle. And also another famous landmark in this area is one I mentioned a moment ago, which is Pike Place Market, which is the longest continuous running market in the USA, and it still operates as a farmer's market. So you can do food tours through here, or just go and have some fun with your family, check it out. It's well known for its tradition amongst the fishmongers in the market too. So once you choose your fish, they throw the fish around the market, all the vendors throwing it around, trying not to drop it before they wrap it. So it's good, great fun, good for kids, and just quite a spectacle really. So another neighborhood I like to highlight is Queen Anne. So this is one of the fanciest neighborhoods in Seattle. The prices here are slightly elevated, but that's why a lot of the Amazon and Microsoft employees live in this neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood to stay in because in Lower Queen Anne, you have some of the most iconic, well, not some, the most iconic attractions in Seattle. So firstly, the number one visited attraction in Seattle is in Lower Queen Anne is the Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum, which is dedicated to the work of local born and world-renowned glassblower Dale Chihuly. So some of you, if you've been to the V&A in London, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, you might recognize his work. He is the one who designed that upside down glass sculpture as you walk into the museum. So yeah, it's a fabulous attraction and you have to visit, it's incredible. Another must-see attraction in this area is the Museum of Pop Culture. It covers, you know, music, science fiction, pop culture, obviously. You know, so Seattle traditionally has been at the forefront of popular culture. It invented things like grunge music, and lots of different TV shows have been filmed there. Oh, could I just ask, is everyone on mute? I can hear myself back. If I could just ask you to put yourself on mute, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So there are lots of, so Seattle was the location of lots of different TV shows, such as Grey's Anatomy, Sleepless in Seattle, Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey. And you can do lots of tours around this. Lots of fans of, say, Grey's Anatomy choose to do a Grey's Anatomy tour, and that's quite a fun thing to do. And then in the Museum of Pop Culture, there's a big Nirvana exhibition. So any music or Nirvana fans, make sure you check that out. And then finally, in this Lower Queen Anne area, we have the Space Needle. So, you know, the icon of the city that is recognized all over the world. There's casual dining at the top. If you can bear the 43-second elevator ride, it's definitely worth it. You get views of Elliott Bay, the Cascade Mountains, and even Mount Rainier. And I mentioned this neighborhood before, it's the Capitol Hill neighborhood, which is an upcoming area. It's the LGBTQ area, amazing nightlife, as you might imagine, and packed with hip bars, eateries, laid back coffee culture. It's a really fun place to spend the afternoon. Just gonna see if I can mute. If I can mute everyone. I can still hear myself. If everyone could just check they're on mute, that would be really helpful. Thank you. I'm not sure how to do it now. I'm showing my screen. I'm not that tech savvy. Thank you. So, so here's the picture I mentioned before about the other side of the football stadium. So you can see, so they're in south of SoDo, south of downtown. So this is kind of an industrial area, but very close to downtown. Home to the football stadium, home to Starbucks Roastery, and has a lot of, it's got an industrial feel, lots of urban breweries. So definitely worth checking out the Sodo neighborhood when you're in Seattle. So 2 more neighborhoods to go through. We have Fremont now. It's a very popular neighborhood to visit. It's kind of quirky, artsy, lots of fun bars and restaurants. It's close to the university district, so lots of young students, amazing farmers markets. Fremont is a great neighborhood to stay in if you're traveling to Seattle with your family. This is Fremont the Troll. He is there as a result of an art competition in 1989. The winner, Steve Badinez, was a big fan of the folktale Billy Goat's Gruff. So this is why he built a troll, and it's kind of novel. You can see for the person, there's a person there that you can see how big it is. So there's people queued to have pictures with Fremont the Troll. It's kind of quirky, but that represents the quirkiness of Fremont in general. And Ballard, this is one of my favorite neighborhoods. For those of you who know London, it's kind of like a Shoreditch vibe, very cool. It's a little bit outside of downtown Seattle, you know, a little bit separate from the rest of Seattle, but the residents sort of like it that way. Great food, farmers markets, it's got a real maritime vibe because it's right on the locks. Just pretty beautiful neighborhood, beautiful people, and it's a little bit cheaper to stay in this neighborhood actually. So if you've got clients who are on a budget, don't be afraid of recommending that they cross over the locks and stay up in Ballard. It's really cool. Wonderful. So now we're going to have a little look at some accommodation. See the waiting room. Okay, so there's a lot of information on this page, a lot of hotels. I'm going to pick out 2 today, but I encourage you to come back and swat up, or just email us afterwards if you need a full list of all Seattle hotels and their rating and whatever information you need, just ask. But yeah, I love the Thompson Hotel. It's on First Avenue, slap bang in the center of downtown. It's 100 meters from Pike Place Market, and all 155 rooms have amazing views of the bay. So, and it's got a rooftop bar, cocktail lounge. So if you want to be in the thick of it, the Thompson Hotel is fantastic. Another one is the Edgewater. Now this is iconic in Seattle. It's right on the water, which is pretty rare because immediately after they built this hotel, they stopped the construction on the waterfront was prohibited. So it's one of very few hotels right on the water. It's walkable to everywhere. It's about 15 minutes from Pike Place Market, uphill, might I add. So if you have clients that are a little less mobile, then probably don't recommend the Edgewater. But if you have clients who want that authentic Pacific Northwest experience and be right on the water and around in a hotel that's hosted the Beatles and Pearl Jam, it's pretty iconic and it's a very special hotel. Cool. So I'm gonna take a look over sort of beyond Seattle. So as I mentioned before, we recommend that you spend 3 nights in Seattle. You don't need a car, but afterwards, you know, we would love for you to experience the rest of Washington State. And some of the immediate attractions are you know, firstly, getting out on the water. You can't really go to Seattle without getting out onto the water at some point. You're surrounded by it, so why not? You can do sort of short trips from the downtown waterfront and West Seattle to islands such as Bainbridge, which is a 35-minute ride away, or Vashon, which is a 20-minute ride away. But one of the more unique experiences, I would say, would be to drive up to Anacortes and get the ferry over to the San Juan Islands here. So these are amazing because you can do whale watching from May to October. So you sort of, it's about a 2-hour drive from Seattle up to Anacortes. But it's definitely worth it. It's stunning. Look at the scenery, and you know you're in the Pacific Northwest when you see views like that with Mount Rainier in the background. It's just unbelievable. And en route, I got this tip from one of my colleagues. En route, if you're driving up to Anacortes, I'd recommend, if you have any aviation enthusiasts, that you stop off in Everett, as they have the Boeing factory. So it's only about 30 minutes from Seattle. So you have the Boeing Museum and the Museum of Flight. And it's an interactive museum. You can go on an old Concorde, an old spaceship. There's, if you like planes, you cannot drive past Everett. I don't know if Brendan, if you want to chime in, you've been to this factory, but it sounds pretty cool. It's massive, basically, and you have to pre-book. It's so popular. But if you're going to Anacortes, stop in Everett. Brendan, I don't know if I sold it very well, but
yeah, no, it's absolutely 100% worth a stop. It's the world's largest factory, so it's pretty astronomically big, and it's hard to describe it. But I think when I went there and did the tour, the thing that blew it away for me was they had 3 like 747 jumbos lined up, kind of wing to wing tip in one hangar. So that kind of shows you the size of it. But you see them like making the Dreamliners and the 777s, and the museum's really cool. But then they take you on like a factory tour, so you hop on a bus and you kind of journey all the way through. And if you're lucky, they might be test flying a plane, so they obviously have a full kind of runway and everything. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Thanks, Brenda. So another fantastic Washington State experience is wine. It's famous for Pinot Noir in Washington, and Washington is actually the 2nd largest wine producer in the US. So I'm going to start off with Woodinville. This one is not actually, no, I'm going to start off with Walla Walla. This area here, this massive area here is Walla Walla, and it's about 4 hours away, and this is where the majority of the vineyards and wine producers are. Lots of people choose to stay in Walla Walla town itself. Yeah, and there's accommodation here. And then you can also go visit, not necessarily stay, Woodinville, which is just about, I think, about half an hour outside of downtown. And there are 90 tasting rooms here. So you can tell your clients just to get an Uber there from the downtown, not too expensive, and then they can enjoy all the wine without having to drive back. But yeah, lots of people they do Seattle and they come down to the Walla region, and then they cross over the Columbia River Gorge down here, and then drive along the Columbia River Gorge, and then continue their Pacific Northwest vacation in Portland. So it's quite a nice loop to do Seattle, wine country, back down, and stay in Portland. So that's one I would recommend. And then finally, of course, Mount Rainier, visible on a non-cloudy day from lots of parts of Seattle. It's an active volcano that is in the Mount Rainier National Park. It's about 50 miles away from Seattle. You can drive, or you can do an organized day trip from downtown. It's about 3 hours each way. But I would recommend that you book very far in advance. There isn't a lot of accommodation. This is something we hear a lot. There's not a lot of accommodation in the national park, in the national park, and the accommodation that is there don't typically work with DMCs. So it's day tripping to Mount Rainier is a great way to see the park. So in the winter you can do snowboarding, skiing, sledding, and then in the summer climbing, and then in the spring is when there are wildflower displays, and it's just hard to beat, really. It's so stunning. So yeah, it's a beautiful national park. So that actually concludes my presentation on Seattle today. And just in terms of key takeaways, it's the gateway to the Pacific Northwest. I like to think of Seattle as the best of both worlds. You get to stay and experience a cosmopolitan, forward-thinking city. It's one of the most progressive cities in the US. You know, so many tech companies are based there, but probably because of that. And you also get to stay in the gateway to some of the most beautiful national parks in the USA. So, and it can be the starting point to so many different itineraries, you know, going up into British Columbia or traveling down to Oregon or California. It's actually quite good value to get to Seattle. We're really well serviced. You know, lots of people choose to fly into Seattle over Vancouver, for example. The flights are cheaper, the car rental's cheaper from Seattle. So yeah, but please don't fly in and not stay. You have to experience it. It's a fantastic city for food enthusiasts, sports fans, nature lovers. You'll always get a warm welcome, and as soon as we can travel, Seattle is ready and waiting to welcome you all there. So thank you very much for listening. That's me done, 2 minutes early. I'm just going to see if anyone had any questions. Chat. Here we go. Oh gosh, lots of questions. Oh yeah, it's okay. So which forms of transport can you get around the city? So yeah, there are, anything you can think of is basically there. I can send a follow-up with information on specific bus providers, but yeah, cycle tours, Segway tours, yeah, hop on, hop off buses. I mean, the public transport is fantastic. You can get an Orca card, and that gives you access to all of the public transport in the city. But I can follow up with information on that, May. Oh, Andrew, it's an incredible museum. There you go, Brendan. Someone else has been there. Wow. Would you stay in Anacortes to visit the San Juan Islands, or is it doable as a day trip from Seattle? I'd say San Juan Islands would be a long day trip from Seattle. I would incorporate a night stay, yeah, to enjoy it in full, because it is about a 2-hour drive up to Anacortes, and then yeah, that's 4 hours traveling. So yeah, I would recommend staying the night in Anacortes. I mean, it depends how much time. If your clients are on a limited time frame, then maybe they could do some of the closer islands as well. Oh, Brendan's already answered. Thanks, Brendan. Oh, my direct email address. Yes, of course. Please email me with any questions. My email address is Bethan, B-E-T-H-A-N, @blackdiamond.co.uk. So it's Bethan at blackdiamond.co.uk. So great. So I think that's all the questions. Thanks so much, everyone. I really enjoyed. I can't talk to you. It feels weird that we can't communicate, but I really enjoyed. Oh, everyone's saying thanks. Thank you. And yeah, the webinar series will continue in 2 weeks' time. We're changing it up. We're doing less traditional presentations, more conversations, more podcast styles. So we're going to do slightly changing it up in a couple of weeks, and there's other destinations coming on board like Tahiti. Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care.